Alrighty, lesson number 3. So we've talked about what an essay summary is and why you should do one. We talked about how to identify a main idea and ways to or different examples of restating these main ideas. Now let's look at thesis statements. So there's a bit of a difference between main idea and thesis statements. We're going to talk about what is the difference, and we're going to use Girl Unprotected to sort of see if we can locate a thesis statement. Okay, so what is a thesis statement? Well, it is some kind of signpost, some kind of clear indication of what about the essay that guides the reader through and towards the main argument. So we've got our main idea, but what is the author arguing? What is the position that the author is taking? That is what the thesis statement shows us. It is not a statement of fact. So my car sucks is not a thesis statement. It is something that persuades or informs, and it demonstrates that you have thought critically. You've looked at multiple perspectives, you've acknowledged the other side, you've considered different ideas that might contribute to it. It goes beyond this statement of fact. So how does this work? What does it look like? Well, here's a statement that gets, we talk about this quite a lot these days. So climate change is bad. Now, is this a thesis statement? Well, no, it's not. This is connected to what we talked about with fallacies. All it takes is for one person to say, no, and now you're stuck in this, yes, it is, no, it's not, yes, it is, no, it's not kind of an argument, right? So this is not enough to be a thesis statement. We need to indicate our position and allude to different points that we're going to make to justify this position. So rather than just climate change is bad, instead, something along the lines of government and commerce should share the responsibility of alleviating climate change because doing nothing will cost money and lives. Now here we have some sort of position, right? The author is arguing something and showing what kind of points or reasonings are going to lead to, try and persuade the audience. So government and commerce, here's a couple of different maybe points, should share the responsibility of alleviating climate change. So that's what this writer thinks. And how is this writer going to, build up an argument? By discussing ways that not doing this will cost a lot of money and kill a lot of people. Now we have a thesis statement. So why do we need the thesis statement? Well, it's going to inform the reader about what the argument is going to be. It's going to sort of help the reader to understand what they are being persuaded about. And it's going to move the text beyond that main idea, right? So the main idea of climate change being bad, all right, but so what, right? What's the context? Why is it important? What do you want me to think about it? What do you want me to do about it? That's the thesis. So where is the thesis statement? Now, in your high school classes, you were probably told your thesis statement is the last sentence in your introduction. This is more often than not the case. Maybe it'll be in the introduction. Maybe it'll be in the conclusion. Maybe it'll be in some other appropriate point in the text. Maybe it's not there at all, but the argument and the different points are clear enough throughout the essay that this thesis statement is implied. So, where is it in Girl Unprotected? Is it in the introduction? No, the introduction starts with an anecdote, a hypothetical teenage daughter and her experience. There's no thesis there, right? That's not what the author is arguing. Paragraph 4 has a sentence in there that's getting close. In this highly gendered equation, girls were only allowed to be adjectives that help describe boys, much as hockey scores do. But remember, this is about not only the sort of treatment of men and women in amateur hockey, the abuse that happens, but also what happens in the justice system when people are seeking justice for the abuse that they survived. So that's an important distinction here. The main idea is that these girls and boys were both abused in amateur hockey, but the justice system treats them differently. So we've really got more of an implied thesis here. So an example might be Robinson argues that victims of abuse in amateur hockey are treated unjustly depending on gender, right? That's her position. Now, what are the points that she uses to argue this? She uses the court cases of Michael Danton, David Frost, and Graham James to illustrate this inequality. So we've got our position, right? The victims are treated differently in the justice system. How am I going to argue this? Here's 3 good examples. So remember, there's a difference between the main idea and the thesis. The main idea of girl unprotected, gender inequality in amateur hockey, and the justice system. The thesis talks a lot more about Canada's national pastime has a dirty secret in which players and their friends are abused. However, right, female survivors do not receive the same standard of justice as their male counterparts. Right, so here's my position. Here's the 2 things I can talk about. That is more of a thesis. So thesis statements take a statement from just here's a thing to here's why it matters. If you are having a difficult time creating a good solid thesis, there's a template that you can use that works really well. So getting a little bit into grammar here, we've got an independent clause and a dependent clause, right? So something that stands alone, and then, you know, some dependent clauses that can attach to it. Okay, so basically it's your opinion and your reasons. So blank is blank, right? Something is true because of A, B, and C. This is a really good way of writing a clear statement that can really anchor you as you write your idea. So going way back to our old hot dog and sandwich, maybe a thesis statement could be a hot dog is a sandwich because it consists of meat between bread. It is designed to be eaten by hand and it is typically eaten with a side of chips. Those are my 3 points that I'm going to give more information about. And that is my clear thesis statement. So what would I like you to do to practice this one? Well, let's have some fun again. I would like you to write a compelling and persuasive thesis statement about socks with sandals. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What are the points that you can make about it? So please think about that. Go through the slides here and write your compelling thesis statement in the appropriate discussion board, and we will see you in the next lesson.